Hi, boys and girls. It's Mrs. P again. I want to make sure that you've got stuff to read or listen to, hopefully throughout the summer. So keep coming back, and I'm going to keep putting new ones on here, and then I'll take some time off. But right now, I just want to make sure that you've got stories in your head. So this one is written by Candace Fleming, and I believe Brian Karras is the illustrator. And this is called Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. And here's the farmer guy. And look at these rabbits. It looks like they are in his garden. Kind of a little bit like Peter Rabbit. Maybe I should read Peter Rabbit. I haven't read that at all. Okay, so here we go. And this is our title page. And it says, Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. And there's bite marks. See, when you're reading a picture book, you need to pay attention to all of the things, because these little things, they're going to help you with your words. And so when somebody eats a carrot, what do you think? They're just munching. Well, this is giving us a little hint as to what's going to go on in the book. So we turn our page. Here's our first page. For years, Mr. McGreely dreamed of planting a garden. He dreamed of getting his hands dirty, of growing yummy vegetables, and of gobbling them all up. But he never once tried it until this spring, said Mr. McGreely. This spring, by golly, I'm going to plant a garden. And so he was, probably walking along with his groceries going home, and he saw all the shovels and the hose and the rakes and the watering cans and the clippers. Well, those are clippers. Those are just garden shears. And the pots and the soil. And he's thinking, maybe I'm going to do it. So he hoed and he sowed, and he watched his garden grow. Lettuce, carrots, peas, tomatoes. Yum, yum, yummy, said Mr. McGreely. I'll soon fill my tummy with crisp, fresh veggies. And so he looks like he's just really putting in some work. Oh, but I wanted to show you this. So he's doing this work. And what's happening? These three little bunnies are watching him work, and they are probably so happy. So we continue. But one night, when the sun went down and the moon came up, 3 hungry bunnies appeared. Three hungry bunnies. And it says, Tippy, 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 Pat. I don't know why they did that. Tippy, 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 Pat. And they are in that garden. Muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his gnawed sprouts, he was angry. So he built a small wire fence all around his vegetable garden. There, he said. No bunny can get into my garden now. And here's the bunnies looking at him like, how are we going to do that? So after the sun went down and the moon came up, and Tippy, 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 and Pat, Spring Hurdle, dash, 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 muncha, muncha, muncha. So what they did is they jumped over the little fence that he built. He doesn't understand bunnies, I don't think. So the next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his nibbled leaves and gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. So he built a tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. Huh, he huffed. Those flop ears will never get over it. No bunny can get into my garden now. He was sure. But here again, who's listening to him and watching him? The bunnies. So he's up here where you can't see yet till I move the book. Just making his big heavy-duty fence that right now would cost him an arm and a leg while the bunnies are watching. So wait, you can't see that. He goes to sleep and he's dreaming about carrots. And then we have bunnies that are going spring hurdle dash, dash, dash. And the sun went down and the moon came up. Tippy, Tippy, Tippy and Pat, well, they were doing a dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. Spring hurdle dash, dash, dash. And then Muncha, Muncha, Muncha. Oh my gosh, he's going to be fit to be tied. So the next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was really angry. Really, really angry. So he made a deep, wet trench outside the tall wooden wall behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. "Ha!" he snorted. "Those pufftails can't get under it, they can't get over it, and no bunny can get into my garden now." Who's that? Let's see what happens. So he's digging the trench and putting water in it. And the sun went down and the moon came up. And Tippy, 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 and Pat dive, paddle, splash, splash, splash. Dig, scrabble, scratch, scratch, scratch. Spring hurdle, dash, dash, dash. And muncha, muncha, muncha. The next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his chomped blossoms, his chewed stems, his nibbled leaves, and his gnawed sprouts, he was furious. Oh my gosh, he's totally furious. Bunnies are just hanging out up on top of the little house on the roof. He's got a door, or no, I think this is a moat, and a ladder. Oh, I'm not even showing you, I'm just talking about it. A ladder, and he's got lights. It looks like a prison. And he's got pulleys that'll make this, that is a moat. It'll go up and down so he can cross over. And it looks like he's made a brick wall. So, I'll read this part now. So, he hammered and blocked and sawed and stalked. He drilled and filled and trapped and locked. And he built a huge, enormous thing before the deep, wet trench, outside the tall wooden wall, behind the small wire fence, all around his vegetable garden. "I've outsmarted those twitch whiskers for sure," he exclaimed. "They can't get through it. They can't get under it. And they can't get over it. No bunny, no way, no how can get into my vegetable garden now." And the sun went down. And the moon came up. And Tippy, 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 stop. The 3 hungry bunnies looked and smelled and touched the huge, enormous thing before them. And Tippy, 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 Pat, the bunnies hopped away. That's kind of sad. And the next morning, when Mr. McGreely saw his untouched vegetables, he was happy. Is that the end of the story? I beat the bunnies! He whooped and did a jiggly wiggly victory dance, and then he climbed over, jumped across, squeezed between, and crawled under until he reached his vegetable garden. Ah, sighed Mr. McGreely. At last! Smacking his lips, he picked and pulled up lettuce, carrots, peas, and tomatoes, and with his basket overflowing, he reached inside for something yummy. And what did he see? The bunnies. Muncha, muncha, muncha! And now that's the end of the story. And it looks like he just decided that he's going to be friends with the bunnies and share his carrots. And that's the end of that story. And we have this in the library, so you need to come and check it out next year when we come back to school. Okay, bye.